Hi, everybody. Sherman Ray for the Living Word Network. Today, we're going to continue our conversation about godly leadership. We live in a day and age where we live under leadership that may or may not represent what we, the people, want. And unfortunately, that's what got us in trouble in the first place. Last time we talked about leadership, we talked about how in the Old Testament, the people went to the prophet and they said, look, we want a king like everybody else, like all the other nations. And God said, look, I'm your only king, and if you want a king like all the other nations, certain things are going to happen. And God gave the people a warning about it. He said they're going to have armies, they're going to have horses and chariots, they're going to amass gold, all this other stuff. Once again, it's stuff that you don't want to have in your lifestyle. And all you have to do is follow me, and I'll give you everything you want. But the people said, no, we still want that. We really like to have a king. Well, fast forward, God says, okay, if you want to have a king, these are going to be some of the rules, and what we mean by rules are some of the requirements that you're going to have for people who are in leadership, especially church leadership. And specifically, I should say, about church leadership, where they're saying if you want to be a deacon, if you want to be a pastor, if you want to be any kind of person in leadership, these are the kind of qualifications you have to have. Well, now we kind of fast forward even more into a civic government. And God says, once again, the Bible says that if you want to have a leader, that you must submit to those godly leaders. Well, the problem is we don't, or do we have, or do we not have godly leaders? And there's some very obvious ways that you can actually tell if you have a godly leader. And those godly leaders are leaders who actually look at the Bible literally, and they say these are the precepts by which we are going to govern the people. And that's the kind of the thing that we have to look at as people of God, whether or not we submit or do not submit to these leaderships. Because there's some people, guess what, you don't want to. I'll give you a prime example. Hitler. Does God mean that we should have followed Hitler or Mussolini or Mao Zedong or any of these other leaders that were just pretty obviously they were crazy? I would say no. So once again, the optimal word here is God-given leadership or God-anointed leadership. If they're not God-anointed or God-given leaders who are led by God, then we as a people have to do everything we can to get those godly leaders into office so we can submit to them. This is Sherman Ray for the Living Word Network. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.